I'm surprised that uh, this latest episode of Tucker Carlson is so short. Normally it's like 12 minutes long. I guess he just doesn't have the energy at the moment.
Hey, it's Tucker Carlson. Belmont Hill is a small private school outside of Boston. It's not famous for its athletics. The school's mascot isn't even an animal, it's an 18th century navigational tool, the Belmont Hill Sextants. Doesn't even make sense. So when it comes to sports, Belmont Hill is not trying very hard. But the school's athletic program can claim at least one important footnote to history. In 1975, its football roster contained two names that you will recognize even now, Mark Milley and Richard Levine. Milley is now the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff. Levine, of course, is our country's most famous admiral. Both transitioned late in life into overweight middle-aged women. Both wound up working as high-level officials in the Joe Biden administration.
It's funny how right-wingers uh, don't like people calling themselves women if if they were born men, unless right-winger uses women as an insult against a man, which is funny how they consider calling a calling a person a woman to be an insult.
Their teammates at the all-boys school in Boston probably wouldn't have predicted any of that. Here's what Rick Levine looks
Yeah, because people can't see the future, obviously. What a, dumbass.
like now from a video he just posted on Instagram.
Hello, my name is Admiral Rachel Levine, and I have the honor of being the Assistant Secretary for Health at the United States Department of Health and Human Services. Happy Pride. Happy Pride Month, and actually, let's declare it a summer of pride. Happy Summer of Pride.
Happy Summer of Pride! Rick Levine is so darn proud he'd like to tell you about it all summer and possibly into the fall. He's got a lot to be proud of. What specifically, you ask? Well, strangely, he doesn't say. Nor does he mention his former wife or children. He doesn't tell us whether they're proud too.
It's funny how Tucker Carlson pretends to care about her family if, the family approves of the person, like that actually matters in any way, shape, or form. It's just something that is finding to be kind of funny.
Since none of them have been invited onto the Today Show to talk about their feelings, we're going to have to guess. For now, we're going to assume that his former family is proud, and why wouldn't they be? Few Americans in our history has come as far as Rick Levine. Here's a fat guy in a Halloween costume who somehow became a federal health minister. Not a small thing, you try that.
Yeah, so it's not just like somehow she became a health minister. She worked towards becoming a health minister.
Not too long ago, this same man was a married pediatrician with kids, lecturing about eating disorders at Penn State. Now he's emerged as a path-breaking Lady Admiral with medals on his chest. And he did all of that without winning a single naval battle, or even being female.
Do you need to win naval battles in order to become an admiral? I never knew. I mean, that would make it hard for a lot of people to be promoted to admiral since there's not a lot of naval battles going on the side of the United States.
It's pretty inspiring. What we have here is living proof that in this country, you really can be whatever you want to be. If Rick Levine can become Admiral Rachel, why can't you be Napoleon? Or Lord Mountbatten, the last Viceroy of India? Ever see that guy's uniform? Or why not Shaka, the legendary Zulu war chief? You could bring your assegai and leopard hide shield to work at Deloitte and no one would be allowed to say a word about it.
So his argument against trans people is, why aren't you naming yourself after famous people? I mean, somebody could name themselves after Napoleon or some other famous person in history, but that doesn't mean that they're actually them. And that's not what trans people are doing. They're claiming that they're some famous person. They're claiming that they're themselves and giving themselves a different name. It's pretty wild how right-wingers pretend to not be able to understand that, yet they're totally okay with calling a person by a nickname.
The HR department would have your back. Unfortunately, you can't actually do any of that. The point of Rick Levine's amazing transformation is not to free you from the inflexible husk that you were born in so that you can be more fully yourself, whatever you decide that is.
Yeah, the human body isn't as inflexible as right-wingers like to claim it is. That's why you can, that's why surgery is possible. That's why tattoos are possible. That's why various other things with the human body is possible and why we can change it. Because the human body isn't, immutable and flexible, unchanging.
No, that's not the point. Rick Levine's personal journey has nothing to do with you. It's about him, it's his journey. Your fantasies about becoming something totally new and different have not been approved yet. In fact, they're weird.
This is Tucker Carlson projecting. He wishes he could be uh, Zoo, Shaka Khan, the Zulu uh, warrior king, but since he's a crazy white rich dude, he can't.
Shaka, the Zulu war king? Come on, that's racist. Shut up and be proud of Admiral Rachel.
I, Rachel L. Levine.
She's the one who has smashed glass ceilings. You just got some kind of weird fetish. So actually, now that we're
I mean, like, who in his audience has the fetish of being some famous dude in the past? And if you do, what is wrong with you? Because why does he think that his face has this kind of fetish? It's kind of weird. Though it's just my assumption that this is Tucker Carlson projecting his fetish onto his face.
saying this out loud, it's pretty clear that Rick Levine has no interest in liberating you from anything. This is not about liberation. It's just the opposite.
Actually, yeah, it's about having somebody that represents you. People in the United States are going to be able to relate to her and feel more comfortable that, people like her can get to that position. So just because his base can't relate doesn't mean other people in the United States can't relate.
It's just another religious war, same as all the others. The people
And claiming it's a religious war, that's stupid because the LGBTQ people are not like it's not a religion to be gay or trans or whatever. It's just the person. A number of these people are Christian or of some other belief.
who think they're God versus everybody else. In primitive civilizations, which would include every civilization since the beginning of time until ours,
Well, primitive is usually noted to mean civilizations that have yet to really have a written history.
people assumed there were rules that no human being made, but that people could ignore only at their peril, at great risk. Some called these rules nature, or natural law, or even, as societies advanced, theology.
So he obviously has not read any history because he would realize that even long in the past, uh, people, trans people have existed and have been accepted. Look at like ancient Egyptian religion, Greek religion, the Roman religion, and stuff like that, that had gods and goddesses that would turn their people into the other sex to be, part of their covenant or following or whatever. So I just find this hilarious how right-wingers pretend to like know history and stuff or reality, and you just make a bunch of lies like this.
But most of the time, people didn't call them anything. They didn't have to. There wasn't a debate about whether the rules were real. People assumed there were consequences to pretending that you were God. They thought,
Nobody's pretending to be God here, which is hilarious, but because people want to change the way they look, right-wingers act like people are playing God because of their stupid religious belief that only God can change people, only God can form people into the way they are.
But Sodom and Gomorrah were real places. They were destroyed for disobedience.
No, they weren't real places. But according to the Bible story, they were destroyed because uh, God is a shitty person.
They imagined the same thing could happen to them. Not anymore. Rick Levine doesn't worry about being punished by forces he can't see. He knows.
Yeah, she's not worried about being punished by some fictional being because nobody is punished by fictional beings because they don't exist. That's like people being worried about getting coal in their stocking. I mean, if you honestly heard an adult talking about getting coal in their stocking and having to obey the rules of Santa Claus, you would be like, yeah, this person is a little bit touched in the head. I mean, that's the same with just religion in general. People are just slightly touched in the head.
Knows he's in charge. He makes the rules. He sets the limits. Reality is what he says it is.
At least for her own body, yeah. The way you want your body to look, that's your choice.
That's his view, and he shares it with virtually everybody else in a position of authority in the United States.
I find it funny just how upset right-wingers have or get about people wanting to control their own bodies. It just shows how much they actually hate other people having freedoms.
That's a pretty bold bet, really. For 7 million years, human beings have believed one thing, presumably based on some evidence. Around 2015, they became convinced of something completely different.
Again, Tucker Carlson does not know history whatsoever. If he did, he would know that trans people have existed all throughout history.
Are they right? It feels like we're going to find out soon.
Yeah, trans people are right, and right-wingers are always on the wrong side. Just like when black people wanted civil rights, right-wingers were on the wrong side. When women wanted the right to vote, right-wingers were again on the wrong side. Right-wingers are always on the wrong side of history because they're shitty people.